It's productivity time.
It's productivity time.
It's productivity time with UPvisor
and Blue Ninja.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another #productivity session. We'll get there eventually, ladies. Welcome back to another session with the Blue Ninjas. We've got Julie Taylor and Louisa Stewart here with us. And today we are talking about reporting tools and their issues, because honestly, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. And we can't make good decisions if we are not measuring what is happening with our information. So one of the things that we have found is really an issue is understanding what's happening in your social media strategy. And especially as a solo entrepreneur or as a business owner, even if you have a team, you might find that being online is something of a cause of consternation, because you're putting out a lot of content but actually don't know if it's having the desired effect. And that is where reporting tools come in. So ladies, I just want to ask you, in your business, what sort of information do we need to start tracking on our social media platforms, and why? Why do we need to track it? What sort of decisions do we need to make based on that type of information? Over to you.
Well, ideally you should have a social media strategy, so that's subject for another time. Yes. Or at least have some idea about what your brand proposition is. Once you start sharing on your social media, you'll want to measure things like followers and trends, top performing posts, post likes, clicks and what they're clicking on, where are you taking them with these clicks, and what time of day is good to post on what platform.
That's super important. I've definitely, sorry, Louise, I'm interjecting here. I'm just thinking, like, if I look at my MailChimp stats, for example, I can definitely see if I post it or if I send my mails out at certain times of the day, I definitely have better reaction than at other times, but I won't know that unless I'm actually checking that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, each platform has different requirements, and you need to know what you need to measure from each platform.
Yes.
And then relate it back to your social media plan, or even your business plan. If you haven't gone into too much detail, you know, what's the objective of what you're trying to do with your data? Are you trying to grow your audience? So you're looking for likes, clicks to newsletters. Are you trying to sell a product or service? So you'd be measuring purchase, clicks on the products. How many people look at your blogs? You know, Google Analytics will give you those metrics of which blogs are popular. You just need to understand what your data is trying to tell you from the different sources. So it's not a one box fits all type scenario. You really need to understand what the different metrics mean over the different platforms. And I think when people talk about something going viral, it's really important to understand that viral piece is probably been developed months or years ago, and it's just being picked up by someone who has enough followers that then feeds the effect. You know, it's not like someone posted something yesterday, it's gone viral. So I think as well, there's managing expectations of what happens with your content, and what's behind it as well, because, you know, overnight successes take years.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I completely agree. And I think you're 100% right with managing the expectation. I had a call just during this week with someone that listened to a podcast with someone that I did like a couple of months ago. And I was like, you know, should I even be doing these podcasts? Is anyone listening? But you don't know what's happening in the background until there's a call like that. And I'm like, oh, wow, someone actually listens. And it's exactly what you're saying. Like, it really takes time to develop that brand awareness and just your positioning in the market.
Yeah, and being consistent in what you're measuring as well. So making sure that you're looking at the same thing for months and months and months, because it might grow. As you say, it's something that you've done months ago that you forgot about, but someone else is new to that, or they've just found you and they're learning about you. So it's important to understand over a longer time what the information's saying, what the data's doing.
Absolutely. I definitely have found that the different platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, I don't even want to start talking about Twitter or any of those other ones, but I definitely have found that it's sometimes really difficult to get the right type of information out of them. Facebook, for some reason, has great analytics, but the others don't really. So are there specific tools that you guys are using to be able to extract the right type of information out of it? And maybe talk to us about the pros and cons of some of those that you have used.
Yeah, so again, this is probably a subject for another one, but just to mention scheduling tools.
Yes.
We've used Buffer and now we use Social Bee, but there's loads out there on the market. We do get a weekly email report, and also there's the analysis dashboard that we can go in and look at different timeframes and see which one posts performed and which ones didn't.
That's great.
Yeah, I think as well with products, they want you to pay more for those analytics. And this is the most frustrating thing with a lot of tools. So you've got Hootsuite, Social Sprout, AgriPulse, you know, they all have variations about how they work. But when it comes to analytics, you've got to pay more to get your data, you know, to analyze your data. And that frustrates me so much. You know, there's really not an easy fix when it comes to analysis of data with social media tools. It's kind of like the more you pay, the more you get. And that's very frustrating. You know, we've been looking at reporting on social media for months now, and we have not found a good solution that doesn't cost thousands of pounds a month, you know. So you're sort of looking for a software that does what you need, and it gives you sort of an element of reporting or data analysis that you can take back, but you're not ending up, you know, too much out of pocket unless you need to be. You know, some people do, like marketing agencies need to pay for that information. But for small businesses, you need to have something that you can sort of check on how you're going, but not necessarily, you know, pay a small fortune for it.
That's really ridiculous. I feel like there's like a gap in the market here for you guys to develop some sort of tool that is actually affordable and allows you to see everything that you need to see. And maybe it doesn't have to be a scheduler and a content, you know, analytics tool. Maybe it can just be one or the other. I think maybe that's part of the problem, right? Where we've got tools trying to be all things to all people, and that just ends up hiking up the price, right? I don't know. I think there's a job of product opportunity for you guys.
I think if anyone following your podcast can give us some advice on what tools do that. There are so many new tools out there, and they either do one or they do the other. And you've got people that sort of feed into the middle area, but you're paying a lot for that middle ground. I think when you look at, you know, how often are you posting, you know, Google wants your algorithm to be fresh. So they want you to be posting a lot on your website to feed the algorithm, so they know that you're active. And so if you're only focusing on social media, then Google's not going to know your website's live. So you kind of got to compromise between how much you're putting on social media versus how much you're putting on your website. Because what happens if there was no social media tomorrow? You know, you own the content of your website, but you don't generally own the social media platforms. You've got to be very aware of how much effort you put into where you're placing your information and the value of it moving forward. Because, you know, as we know, algorithms are changing. Facebook changed their algorithm fairly recently. You know, things like that you've got to be aware of, because Julie messaged me the other night and went, "We've lost our 5 stars. Where did our 5 stars go?"
Louise has a week off, and then it all goes off when she's not there.
And for us, that's a really important metric for someone to see that we're a good quality business. And, you know, it was someone put a phony review on the site when I first started, like 8 years ago. We then got the review off. So we were looking great again, and now it's dropped again because of some algorithm change. So, you know, those frustrations are something we can't control. So you've got to be very aware of, you know, what that means for you as well. Luckily, we took a screenshot of our 5 stars, so we could put it back and say we are a 5-star business.
I like that, keeping the system.
But it's not our system; it's someone else's system. So we have to comply by their rules of how the data's displayed and performed. You know?
Absolutely.
I think testing is really important as well when you find a tool. You know, you need to get the best out of it. And, you know, we've mentioned a couple of tools already. You know, we tried one for ages and it just wasn't quite working for us. So we said, well, what do we need our tool to do? And we've changed because of that. I think it's a matter of really trying these systems and making sure they're working for you, because there's no point in having a system that isn't, of course. Julie, do you want to talk about the evergreen stuff and the one-off?
Come on.
I feel like I've been talking too much already.
Well, I think the thing is we're still looking to develop our evergreen for ourselves. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that'd be great for your social media to run itself. And you know, obviously one-off posts are so time consuming.
Yeah.
But we had a good session with somebody on blogs last week, and she's saying you've got so much content there, and it's a bit like your podcast. Who's listening? It's like if somebody hasn't reacted straight away to my blog, nobody's reading it. So I think it's about leveraging what you've got and not, you know, beating yourself up about brand new content every day of the week sort of thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, sorry, go for it, Teresa.
I was going to say, there's also Rss Feeds, which is sort of another element of the way that you pull other people's content as well.
Yeah, well, maybe tell us a little bit more about this concept of RSS feeds, because I think that's something that sometimes people think has gone out of fashion, but actually there's a lot of power in being able to leverage off of that.
Yeah, so I had to go and Google it because I've only heard them as RSS feeds rather than they're called really simple syndication. And it's essentially, it's words. It's pulling content from one site and then manipulating in a way that you can then pull it into another site. So it can be automated. It's quite helpful to look at RSS as a part of your content strategy. If you do it well, you know, you're looking at keywords. You know, you need to make sure that if you're using RSS feeds that they're hitting the mark, because there's no point in providing information that's irrelevant to your audience. So RSS feeds will work in social media tools. They're quite helpful to sort of bulk up your content without actually writing it yourself. So as Julie said, you know, one-off posting is very time consuming. Someone's already done the work for you. So use that to your advantage, but it has to be on the mark of your topics and what you're trying to say. So I use Feedly and Flipboard as two content curation places. What we do is put it into Pocket, which is another tool, and then that feeds into our RSS feed. And we're just starting to work on this now because it was sort of an area that we sort of went sort of near when at the start of the year and then stopped again as we kind of had to re-strategize what we were doing. But I think, RSS feeds are definitely still alive and kicking and of interest. Do you have a content curation site that you use, Christine?
I was playing around with some options. Feedly was one of them. I ended up settling on q.com. That's QUUU.com. I don't know why, you know, but anyway. What I quite like about it is it links automatically with my Hootsuite, so it can post automatically. I think part of what put me off from Feedly was the cost associated with it. I can't remember what the cost was, but I think that was one of the considerations for me. Whereas with Q.com, I end up being able to do a lot more than what I was able to do with Feedly. But yeah, I think it comes down to which platform has the type of content that you need for your audience, because not all of them can curate the same type of content and subjects. So I think that's also something to consider for sure.
Yeah. And I think with, you know, look for your experts in the field, look at what they're writing. There's Medium, Inc.com, Entrepreneur. There's a lot of places that have a very broad range of information topics. So it's a matter of finding where your audience, where your experts are writing for your audience and leveraging that information, even if it's a copy and paste of a link to an article. You know, it's just providing another point of expertise.
That's it. And I think it's about positioning yourself in alignment with experts. So it's not necessarily to say that you need to be the expert in whatever subject, but you're aligning yourself with other experts, which automatically just elevates your status, you know. So I think it's a really great way to be able to promote your brand to a high level for sure. I like that. Cool. Any closing thoughts that you guys would like to share? Any questions I didn't ask that you would like to answer?
I think there was just things around, you know, if you go in directly to the social media platforms, you can't all look at them the same way. So they're in cahoots with each other to make it tricky, don't they? So, you know, you can get certain metrics from Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, but then Instagram, you can only look back 7 days. You're looking at you have to look on your mobile device. And
it's making life difficult for us, eh? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's so rude. So it's you're trying to compare apples with oranges, so it's not the easiest.
Yeah. And I think there are tools like we're sort of digging into Google Data Studio, which is a free service that you can set up your own reporting. It takes a while to get the hang of it, but then you're pulling in the data from those sites and then leveraging the data that you're getting in your own way. So it gives you advice on how to structure the data in a way that makes it meaningful. That's awesome. And there's a lot of websites now. I think there's one. Was it Social Media Examiner? I think they do a lot of blogs on what data to look for. So I think having a look through of what metrics are important for your data is understanding what your data is really important. And sometimes using a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, and just putting your results into a spreadsheet can be as effective as anything else. So, don't discount something like that. Yeah. I mean, because you're still having to spend the time measuring the information anyway. So it's a matter of making it understandable for you and work for you.
Absolutely. Tell me, Louisa and Julie, if someone had to ask you to set up a little Google Data Studio dashboard for them, would you be able to assist with that?
Oh, yes. We've been for the last couple of months really getting our heads around how Data Studio works and what to measure and how the information pulls through. So I feel like we've got a good handle on that now. So definitely something we can help with if anyone's interested in finding out more about how to analyze their data through a tool.
I think that's a good idea. And maybe even if you guys would just like to pop a snapshot of what this looks like in the comments when we post this video, that'll be really cool. So that'll give a really good idea about what it's actually capable of. Great. Awesome. Cool. Thank you, ladies. Really fun chatting to you guys. Our monthly interview. I love it. It's always something for me to look forward to, and I know the audience does as well. So thank you so much for your time. And next week, I don't even know what we're talking about. So make sure you're tuning in, and we will see you next time on are you guys ready? Yeah. Hashtag productivity. Bye.
This podcast has been brought to you today by UPvisor and Blue Ninja. UPvisor, your strategic financial partner of choice to improve your productivity and profitability. Visit upvisor.co.za to unlock your full potential. Blue Ninja, your online business management team for streamlining and improving your business functionality. Visit blueninja.eu because everybody needs a ninja.